guys, and welcome to the Aging Games, where I talk about all things related to health, anti-aging, and beauty, and especially for ladies over 50. Today I wanted to talk to you guys about the keto diet and the top mistakes that you can be making on the keto diet, why it might not be working for you. I've been following a keto or keto-ish diet for over 10 years, so I do have a lot of experience, and I can share you some of the pitfalls that I fell into, especially in the beginning. So the first thing that I wanted to bring up, and a lot of people make this mistake, when you switch to a keto diet, you start having all these keto foods. So you're buying keto bread, you're buying keto bars, keto shakes, keto pills, all kinds of anything that starts with keto, you buy it, you eat it, you drink it. And this is really not what the keto diet is all about. The keto diet should be focused on eating whole foods, to eating a healthier diet, not processed food. So you should be eating a lot of meat, you should be eating eggs, you should be having some vegetables if you're having that, if your body can tolerate it. So the keto diet is not about eating franken foods, fake foods. I know it's easy in the beginning because you're kind of lost and you don't know what to eat. So it's easy to, buy the keto pasta and eat that, and the bars and all of these things. But when you start looking at the ingredients, then you realize that you're going down this slippery slope and you're not actually eating healthy foods. So this is going to have an impact on your weight, also on your health. So it's not a good thing to do long term. I can understand like buying a couple of things and, substituting some of the most important things so that it's easier to transition in the beginning. But eventually, those things will have to go because they just don't work well in the long term. They didn't for me. I know that was a big issue for me. And when we first started doing low carb even before keto, this was like going back 20 years, and we were having a lot of Atkins bars and things like that. And what happens with these low carb foods and everything is that you have the net carbs, and then what happens is the fiber gets substituted from the carbs, so that's how you arrive at the net carbs, which will be lower, but it's not really a true accurate representation of how many carbs you're having. So be careful with those. And also, if you really want to be losing weight, you need to be around under 20 to 30 gram carbs a day, which is very difficult to do if you're eating all these kinds of different foods. It's much easier if you're cooking for yourself. If you're trying to maintain, then you can go up to like 50. Some people can even go up to 100 gram carbs a day and still maintain their weight. So it really depends on your metabolism. But in the beginning, you really want to be strict. You really want to be under those 20 grams to get your body into the fat burning mode. And it's going to be very difficult when you're having all kinds of keto foods. The second mistake that you could be making on the keto diet is making substitutions for everything. So even if you're not buying these ready-made products, you could be making them yourself. And I said I was very guilty of that as well. And what I did, I started making my own bread. I started making my own pasta. I was making keto cakes like it's nobody's business. So I had sweets all the time in the fridge. The first problem with this is you're using a lot of nut flours. And nut flours are very high in omega-6, and if you don't have the correct ratio with omega-6 and omega-3, which most of us don't, you're going to cause inflammation in your body. It's going to make weight loss much more difficult. Also, when you're baking all kinds of keto treats, which I do love, so it's nice to have as a treat, don't get me wrong. But when you have these all the time, because you think, well, it's keto, so it's fine, I can have as much of it as I want, and I can just go nuts with this stuff every day. You really can't. The other problem with that, you will be using some kind of a sweetener in those products, so that can still set off an insulin reaction in your body, even if you're using stevia, xylitol, maltitol, anything like that. Anytime your body tastes something sweet, there could be an insulin response, which could halt your weight loss efforts. So if you're doing the keto diet, I know it's really difficult. Like, we're just so used to eating certain things with bread, or, how do you have a sandwich, or how do you have a quick breakfast? How can you take something to work with you? That's also a bit challenging. So it's very easy to bake the keto breads, the keto buns. I do have some good recipes for those, and I do make them once in a while, but it's definitely not something that I have every day anymore. And also with the sweets. So be careful with those because you will be increasing your carbs. You will still be eating sweets. You will probably have a lot more calories than you need. Even though I don't believe in counting calories, there is a limit to how much we can consume without putting on weight. The more you're eating those foods, the less you'll be eating of the foods that you should be eating. So be careful with doing all these substitutions. It can be very tempting, especially in the beginning, But once you can wean yourself off those and just stick to the real food, stick to the basics, stick to the meat and the vegetables, the eggs, the dairy if you can tolerate it, and just keep it simple. That's the best way to achieve the best results. The third very common mistake on a keto diet is overdoing the nuts and the snacks. I'm going to put these two together because often on a keto diet, you're snacking on nuts and you can do this all day long because you think, well, nuts are fine, even though they still have carbs in them, but most of them are keto friendly, and a lot of diets and a lot of diet plans for a keto diet will include nuts. And it is fine to have them, but use them sparingly. And keep in mind, first of all, they are very high in calories. They're high in fats, but they're high usually in omega-6 fats, which you don't want to have too much of, which we just discussed earlier. So anytime you're doing nuts and seeds and things like that, you could be increasing the inflammation in your body. Anytime you're increasing inflammation, you're not eliminating inflammation, then you're going to have problems with water gain, with bloating, and your body will just be holding on to extra weight. So you're not going to see the true results that you could be seeing if you reduce eating nuts and seeds and also reduce snacking. So even though snacking can be a big issue, I understand that it's kind of a necessary evil in the beginning, because what's going to happen when you first start a keto diet, you're not going to feel as full as you're used to feeling. It's like a different kind of sensation that you really have to adapt to. So for example, if you're used to having breakfast, you're used to having bacon and eggs with bread and orange juice and pancakes, then that's a different kind of fullness. Now all of a sudden you're just having eggs and bacon, for example, maybe some Greek yogurt. So you feel you've had enough to eat, but you don't feel that fullness. Like you kind of feel like, I could still eat something. So it's quite possible that you might need a snack a couple of hours later. But this is just the adaptation. And once your body gets used to it, also with the meat and potatoes, you're not going to have the same kind of sensation if you're having a steak and potatoes as if you're having a steak and some asparagus right now, or some broccoli or anything. So it's going to be a different kind of feeling. So if you do feel the need to snack, do it in the beginning, but try to wean yourself off of it slowly, because ultimately you need to give your digestive system time to rest. I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting, so the more you can fast between meals, the better. I do really well with 1 meal a day on OMAD, or max 2 meals a day. I never have more than that. I don't really feel the need to snack anymore. I feel satisfied with my food. For me, the key is to make sure that I'm eating enough fat so that I feel full for hours or even days, because fasting is quite easy for me now. The fourth very common mistake on a keto diet is overdoing the dairy. So dairy can be a super exciting part of the keto diet, and finally, maybe for the first time in your life, you can have, without any guilt, you can have high-fat cheese and heavy milk and whipped cream and all these delicious things that will make any dish taste so much better and so much richer. And it's also the best way and the fastest way to increase the your fat intake. And ultimately, the keto diet will be about 70% fat. So where do you get that fat from? It's more difficult to get it from lard and from different things, but it's very easy to get it from dairy. But also keep in mind that dairy can be a problem for a lot of people. I know it is for me. I still eat it. I wish, I've gone through phases where I stop eating it, and it's just so difficult because, I don't eat a lot of vegetables. I eat mostly meat, and then with my meat, I still need to have something, and dairy is such a nice accompaniment for any kind of dish. I do struggle with it, but I know it's not good for me. I know it produces a lot of mucus for me. It can produce inflammation just like nuts and seeds can. So, a lot of people are lactose intolerant, and they can have issues with that. Be careful with dairy. I know a lot of people that are on the keto diet and they're not losing weight and they're not getting the success that they were hoping for. And then once they eliminate the dairy for a couple of weeks, then things start to change for them. So look into that, see how much dairy you're eating, see if it could possibly be a problem for you. And if you're not losing weight, or you've reached a plateau and the scale's just not moving or nothing's changing, then think about giving up dairy for like 2-3 weeks and see how your body feels. See if all of a sudden, the scale starts moving, you're feeling better, you have more energy, you're less puffy, and a lot of the inflammation is leaving your body, then that's a really good sign. But it also will tell you that you should not be having dairy. So please do keep that in mind. And point number 5 for me will be, speaking of scales, is actually obsessing with the scale too much. And again, I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of all these points, so that's why I can come to you guys and talk to you about it. On a keto diet, your body will change, your body composition will change. You're eating a lot of protein, you're eating a lot of fat. And what I found for me, in the beginning, I actually ended up gaining some weight, but I got smaller. So if you're only obsessing with the scale and you're only looking at those numbers, and you may see them going up or not changing at all, but you're not looking at how your clothes are fitting and you're not taking your measurements, then you may not be getting the whole picture. So you might say, oh my God, I've actually gained a couple of pounds, or I'm heavier than I was when I started, or I've been stuck at the same weight for months and nothing's happening. But please make sure you're looking at these other factors. Like, it's so important to take measurements. That's what gives you the true indication of what's happening and how your body is reacting to this diet that you're doing. So make sure you're taking measurements. Look at how your clothes are fitting. If you have some tight, skinny jeans and you put them on and they feel loose, then you know you're on the right track. So the scale is not everything. The scale lies. I do not have a healthy relationship with the scale. It is good for, staying on track, and it does work very well for some people, and it's a necessary thing for other people just to keep them on track, but it doesn't tell the full story. So don't obsess too much with your weight. Don't obsess too much with the number on the scale, because that's not everything. And also, a lot of times the body will first heal before it loses weight. So the first priority, and the keto diet is a very healing diet, and a lot of people have been able to get rid of all kinds of really nasty conditions, or were able to get off their medication. So it can be super powerful. But the first priority for the body is to heal. So you will go through the healing process first, and then losing the weight will come a little bit later. So be patient with yourself. Know that this is the ultimate way that we should be eating, and it will work for you. You just need to give your body enough time to adjust and to heal and to get the full benefits that you can. So guys, these are the 5 things that I could think of just off the top of my head that are the most important things to keep in mind. Some other things that you can tweak, maybe changing the type of vegetables you're eating less vegetables. I know for me it was huge. I actually transitioned to a carnivore diet because I just wasn't doing keto right, and I felt it was failing me. So I switched to more or less a ketogenic diet, where I was eating only meat and animal products, meat, eggs, dairy, and nothing else. And that was very healing for me. And I realized that a lot of the vegetables were also causing me issues. I've since then introduced some vegetables, but very limited amounts. And I kind of treat it like a garnish. I don't have these big, huge salads and then a little bit of meat. I kind of do it the other way around. So the meat, the fat will be the staple of my diet. And then the vegetables, some cucumber slices and things like that will be kind of like the garnish that go with it. And I've found which ones are fine for my body, which ones don't cause any issues. And I try to stick to those as much as possible. So the keto diet, like everything else, is, trial and error. You have to experiment. And we all react to food differently. So you have to see what you're sensitive to, what you're allergic to. If you have thyroid problems, maybe you want to stay away from cauliflower, broccoli, things like that. You can see more about this in my other video about thyroid health. So keep all these things in mind and try to focus on the foods that make you feel good. Instantly, because afterwards you feel amazing, you feel full, you don't feel lethargic, you don't feel bloated. Just the other day, I haven't had cauliflower in forever, literally forever. And I really wanted some mashed potatoes, so I had made some mashed cauliflower. Well, I was bloated like a balloon. I felt terrible. So I'm like, okay, this is why I stopped eating cauliflower. So experiment and play around with your food and see what works for you and see what's happening in your body, and try to concentrate. It doesn't have to be a large list. We don't need to be eating 100 different things every day. That's not necessary. It's always better to keep it simple ingredients. You don't need to mix 50 kinds of things together to make a dish. Keep it simple and stick to the basics. So guys, if you enjoyed this video and you have something to add on the topic, please feel free to share below. I always love hearing from you guys. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and to hit the little bell so that you can get notifications every time I post a new video. And please also check out my book below with over 100 anti-aging tips. Thanks for watching, guys.